Hello everyone, welcome to my kitchen. Today we are making a delicious pozole. This soup is great any time of the year, especially those colder months when you need something warm and hearty. It's nutritious, flavorful, a little spicy. We love to make this for Christmas and New Year's. If you'd like to learn how to make this yourself, just keep watching. I'm going to start by cutting the meat. I'm using a bone-in pork shoulder. This is about 8 pounds. I'm not going to use this entire piece of meat in this dish, but I do want to use the bone, so I'm going to cut the entire shoulder. I'll be using 2 to 2.5 pounds of meat plus the bone, and I'll freeze the rest for another dish. I'm just cutting large slices to make it easier to cut into cubes. Pork shoulder is pretty marbled, which is good for this dish. It'll keep the meat tender, but I want to use the pieces with the least amount of fat. I'm cutting the pieces into 1-inch cubes. Pork will shrink a bit when it cooks, so they'll end up a little smaller, perfect size for a spoon. This is what it looks like when I'm done. This is the bone. It still has quite a bit of meat on it. The pieces are not all the same, but that's okay. I'm using a 6-quart pot and filled it about halfway with water. I turned the heat on to a medium-high heat and added the bone and the pork meat. The bone will make this broth super flavorful. I'm also adding a whole onion cut in half, 5 large garlic cloves, 2 tablespoons of salt, 2 bay leaves, and 1 tablespoon of Mexican oregano. I'm going to mix it and let it come to a boil. Once it starts simmering, you'll see this foam appear at the top. Just go ahead and remove that and discard it. Some of the oregano will go with it, but that's okay. We added quite a bit and it's already releasing all of the flavor. I might have to do this a couple of times as the meat is cooking, but I want to make sure to remove as much as possible. Once you remove the foam and get a gentle boil, cover it and cook the meat until it's fork tender. Depending on your pot and the meat, that might take about an hour to an hour and a half. Some of these impurities will stick to the top. I'm just going to remove them with a spoon. The meat is already fork tender. I'm going to prepare the chilies for the sauce. You don't need to dirty another pan or bowl. Just go ahead and add them straight into your pot for a few minutes to soften. I'm using Guajillo and Arbol chili pods. These have been de-seeded and washed. Once they're softened, I'm going to add them to the blender cup with 2 cups of the broth. I'm also adding 3 large garlic cloves, 1 tablespoon of Mexican oregano, a teaspoon of black pepper, a teaspoon of cumin powder, a teaspoon of salt. I'm also adding 3 chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. These come in a can. I can link the ones I use down below if you want to know which brand I'm using, but any brand works. I'm going to put the lid on and blend it until it's smooth. Once that's ready, I'm going to pass it through a sieve straight into the pot. This will remove any skins and seeds, but first I'm going to remove the onion and garlic that we added earlier. At this point, you can add your hominy. I'm using 2 30-ounce cans of white hominy that I drained and rinsed. This hominy is already cooked, so it just needs to simmer for a little bit to warm through. Depending on the brand of hominy you use, you might need to cook it a little bit more, maybe add it while the meat is cooking. You just have to try it when you open the can to see how soft it is. Okay, this will simmer for 10 to 15 minutes so that all the flavors come together. You can taste it and adjust the seasoning, maybe add a little more salt if it needs it. This was perfect. I don't need to add any more seasoning. It's a little spicy, which I love. The meat is so tender, it breaks apart really easily. This is ready. I have to say, this is one of those soups I can eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I always make enough to have leftovers. I'm going to serve this with some finely shredded cabbage, some radishes, diced white onion, fresh cilantro, and some lime juice. You can add a spicier salsa here if you want it a little bit more spicy. A salsa macha would be really good too. I like mine with a toasted bolillo with butter. And there it is. This is so good. I hope you guys get a chance to make this. The recipe will be down below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more of our delicious family recipes.